There's just so many
Just stop messing
knobs.
with it. Why do you keep touching it?
Because it's slow and I can't take notes.
Well, that's not what you touched. This is the pivot point.
I know. I know. I had it figured out on that one.
It's not complicated.
For some of us.
Clearly.
It's just a pivot. Pun intended.
Kill me.
It's just a pivot. Let's see how many times we can use the word pivot in the next week.
I'm Josh Sigman.
And I'm Brynn Rouse.
I'm a mortgage guy with a passion for money, business, and elevating my game. Brynn is my co-host. She's my friend and marketing director for my mortgage team.
That's right. I'm a marketing girl, a mama of 3, and wife of 1. And like Josh, elevating life, business, and relationships, well, it's my jam.
This season's topic, elevate your game.
What do you want?
Do you want to push personal limits, find joy, be more present?
Be a better parent, have a sexier marriage, make more money, save more money, start your own business, develop a hobby, or strengthen important relationships?
Impact the world, be a better boss, or create a stronger business? Then you are ready to elevate.
And this is the place to do it.
Are you ready? Sigman Sense Season 3, elevate your game. All right, girl, bring us back. What are we doing?
Okay, so we just finished up Pivot Part 1, which we covered attitude and some questions or statements to go through. So I am broken. I hate it. I will fix it. And then going through the steps. Step 1, where are you now? And some questions to go along with that. What's working? What's not working? What needs to be added, what needs to be subtracted, and what needs to be learned. Mm-hmm. And then step 2 is, what is the current environment that we are working in? And step 3 is brainstorming how to make the best use of that current environment. Yeah. So that leaves us with the remaining 4, which is to prioritize, to delegate, how to act on it, and how to take or how to maintain a healthy mindset during all of this. So
before you do that, you're supposed to like and subscribe and share.
Done.
I mean, you should check out our shorts. The shorts. Is that what it's called? Shorts?
I don't know. Is it?
I think so. I think they're called YouTube shorts. Is it YouTube shorts?
Yeah, they're all, yes, we are putting up shorts in the shorts reels. And also we have a shorts channel called Short Sense.
Short Sense, that's right.
Which is the best 5 to 8 minutes of every episode. So you no longer have to listen to Josh's long-winded over-explanation, beating a dead horse of every topic.
And you can mute Brynn whenever you feel like it. All right. So let's go back to step 4. So we're pivoting because we just want to get a little better, right? Like the ambition is to be a little better in whatever we're working on. So we assume that you've brainstormed a whole list of things you could do to improve. We were just talking actually about working out as a great example. So last year, I remember for 5 months in a row, I was doing 4 days a week of personal training exercises, and my body fat literally never changed, right? And it's not my personal trainer's fault. It turns out that there's extra things that are required, right? Whether I was eating too much or too little, drinking too much or too little, drinking water too much or too little, sleeping too much or too little, and then of course cardio on top of that, right? And so the idea then was, do you
do cardio with your trainers?
I do now. Well, I do it beforehand. Now I show up at 5 to do cardio because what I realized is that in order to be a little bit better, I had to add a little bit, and adding a little bit was 4 days a week of at least 30 minutes of vigorous exercise, and not drinking 5 days a week during the work week. And then eating my body weight and protein were my 3 changes. Yeah. And body weight changed, or body fat percentage changed, right? So the idea is you're brainstorming all these things you could do. Like you could have done one of those 3 things and been a little bit better, right? I just chose to do all 3 or 4 of them, right? Number 4, though, is maybe you've got a list of 2 things, maybe you've got a list of 30 things that you could do to improve on where are you now. Maybe you said I could add this, that, or the other. I could learn this thing. I could, use this environmental thing to my advantage. And you got 10, 15 things you could use. Now, step 4 is you got to prioritize it, right? Because remember, what's relevant today might not be relevant in 90 days. And so it'd suck if you were going through your list of 10 things and the 10th thing was the most important thing today and it's not even relevant in 90 days when you get around to it. So you miss the opportunity, right? Like the lots I referenced that I bought some ranches to turn into lots that I'm invested in right now. Timing is very, very important on that risky endeavor, right?
Very important.
Like if the market totally shifts before those lots are gone, I have to expect to send those lots for 3 to 5 or 7 years. I mean, that's what happened the last time around when the market, you go back to 2007 or 8 and the market kind of dipped. It didn't come back to 10 or 11. I don't expect that in real estate, but the point is that timing is important. So if I had waited till today to say, you know what, I'm finally going to go get in the lot game, it's definitely late to the party, right? I'm sure a lot of people have been thinking about second homes and they're like, man, I wish I had bought that second home back in COVID of 2020. And it's, a little late at the party right now in some cases, right? Depending on the area that you're at. So prioritization is the key. We've talked about priority pairing in different podcasts before. The very simple thing that I would say for business is ask yourself 2 questions. Which of these, if done first, and let's use business first, makes me the most money or saves me the most time? Which of these, if done first, makes me the most or saves me the most time? And that's number 1. From a business perspective, that's the right answer, right? Mm-hmm. We're trying to take advantage of this temporary market condition. It could be gone in a poof, right? We want to do that in fewer hours. We want to get a little more balance going. So what could reduce hours if I did this first, right? So what, if done first, makes me the most money or saves me the most time? And so that's really where the prioritization order should come from. And then, regardless if you like it, number 1 should be number 1 should be number 1. Number 2 should be number 2. Number 3 should be number 3. And you work through that in priority order.
Yeah. This also starts with due dates a lot. So I feel like you're talking more conceptual type stuff almost, which is totally fine. To take it to a more task related prioritization, being very clear about what the due dates are for everything that you've committed to. And this takes practice to get used to, both from an employee standpoint and from an employer or manager standpoint. If your boss assigns you something and doesn't give you a due date, be the one to ask.
So true.
What is your expectation for getting this done? And then as a manager, leader, boss, whatever, make sure that you start getting in the habit of assigning due dates, because it will allow you and or your employees to prioritize better. And that is so crucial whenever, for us list takers like myself, that is, my lists don't come out of my head in priority order. Luckily, I am a pretty good prioritizer. So I can look at the list, and because I'm also practiced at due dates, then I can get through, okay, this is due like in the morning or in the next 2 days. Mm-hmm. This is the priority for now. And the other things can continue to go down the list.
I love that. So to me, it's utilization of a calendar.
Yes.
That's really it. And we'll get into the next step here.
Or some organizational piece.
Well, yeah,
calendar, yes, that is ideal. Calendar is ideal. But where we get a lot of pushback on calendars is for people that don't have appointments.
Yep.
If they don't have appointments, which is why I think we use ours so well, is because we actually have appointments.
We have to be somewhere.
So you have someone that is at their desk all day long and has tasks all day, but not necessarily by appointment. Those are the people that struggle most, in my opinion, that I've seen use the calendar.
And the exact same person that should be using a calendar, because it'll help them get through their day more efficiently.
But I think it goes into if you're not meeting someone, then you are less likely to hold yourself accountable to it. So we're talking about time blocking, right? So from 9 to 10, I need to work on, I need to review analytics for something.
Yep.
Well, if I'm not doing that with somebody else, it is very easy for me to skip because what I was doing before that runs over, or I'm letting it take priority. So I think that people struggle with calendars when there's not appointments with somebody. So that's why I'm saying, like, first and foremost, I am not saying don't use a calendar. I think you need to use a calendar. But if you're not having some sort of list or organizational technique, that works really well. And this does not come in the form of Post-it notes. It does not come in the form of making a list and keeping it in your office while you go out and about throughout the day. This is something that is very actively like with you, that you can continue to strategize throughout the day and move things around. Whew, there's my soapbox.
I don't disagree with that. So for those of you guys that are somewhere between what Brynn said and where I said it, like, here's the truth of the matter. If you, this is what's crazy to me. If you found something to be so important that you think it's going to make you more money or save you more time, and you don't set aside appropriate time to get the job accomplished. So whether you use a calendar or like, the only reason I use a personal trainer is because I know I need the accountability. Yeah. I know that if Tony is waiting there at 6 a.m, I'm going to go whether I'm hungover or not. I just do.
Yeah, of course.
Like, sometimes people look at me really weird. I'll be out with the team party till 2 a.m, 3 a.m. I'll go work out at 5 or 6. And it's just because somebody's standing there. So for me, the accountability, setting the time and space to like sit down and get it done in completion, right? Like, I take off days occasionally, especially days following a vacation, which sounds weird. But the day I get back, I might get back on a Sunday and take off Monday, because Monday allows me to get everything caught up on and done, it give me the space, right?
It took me so long to learn that.
It's such an important thing when you are worried about being buried when you get back.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Take a 6-day vacation and you just roll, you get home at 8 o'clock at night and try to roll in at Monday morning. Like,
you're screwed.
That's not a fun feeling.
But the prioritization is do it. Like, well, that's a different number here, but you got to create the prioritization order. And then number 5 then is something that's often missed. And people, again, the excuse is going to be, well, I don't have any employees. It's delegate. So number 5 is delegate. So there are things for sure on your list that you could delegate or ask for somebody's help on.
100%.
That is either gifted at it, would love to help you, is a business partner, is a personal friend, that would be happy to do it for you, and it takes an extra effort. So I'll just give you an example. I referenced in the last podcast about that I know the actual inventory of the city of San Antonio every week, right? The reason I do is not because it's something I wanted to know, it's information I want to know, and you would think, well, Josh just looks up that information every single Monday. And the answer is no. I literally have 3 realtors that I asked as a professional courtesy if they would just email me the inventory every Monday. Mm-hmm. And usually 1 or 2 of them remember. And so I get the inventory. It's a form of delegation.
Can you email that to me, please?
Sure. I'll start forwarding it to you. Yeah, absolutely. So the whole idea is that, there's a realtor that a good realtor would know the inventory anyways for their own business. And I'm just asking just to forward it. Yeah. Just like you just asked me, just forward it. So the delegation piece, like sometimes we're like, well, I don't have access to the MLS system to look up the inventory. Well, that's not the point. Ask for somebody's help. Yeah. And you can apply that in all areas. The delegation of, hey, what my added weight loss is going to be, I'm going to walk 30 minutes 3 times a week. The delegation can be asking, I know you used to do this for years, asking your neighbor to go on a walk with you, right? Yeah. So, you can delegate the accountability because you're saying, hey, would you do me a favor and, remind me 3 times a week for the next 30 days to create a habit so that, we can make sure I follow through on it, right? Whatever it is the delegation piece is something that is often missed. And even leaders that have teams or have employees, they hold on to shit. Yeah. And they because they're the damn martyr and no one can do it but me, and they create these things that I'm going to finally get around all the shit, and none of it gets done because it's stuck on their desk. It's meaningless by the time it gets to somebody when they finally give up and realize that they're not going to get it done.
Yeah, and here's
it's so defeating.
It's defeating, but it perpetuates the problem of being buried. And here's why. Here's the thought that runs through these people's heads. And I know this to be true because I fall into this trap, even though I'm a pretty damn good delegator too. In fact, my family makes fun of me. They're like, you literally delegate the art of delegation. I'm like, hey.
And there's lots of books about the art of delegation. Like, they're worth reading.
They are worth reading.
So don't assume because you are a 22-year-old kid listening, you have no one that works for you or that you work for, like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But the reason a lot of delegation doesn't happen is because you think, well, why would it's going to take me longer to teach this person how to do it than if I just did it myself.
Yep.
But here's what happens next. That thing sits on your to-do list, but more importantly, it sits on your shoulders, weighing you down for days on end until you can finally create the space to get it done.
Yep.
So yes, does it take time to teach somebody? Yes. Is it always the most fun? Absolutely not. However, the multiplier is that you teach them once, you never have to teach them again.
Yep.
And that is a permanent delegated task.
They can be practiced at a very young age. I was watching my daughter in the end of school. It was some sort of project. What were they studying? Oh, they were reading a book. What book was it? It was a really important book. High school. I'm trying to think. Oh, the Odyssey. The Odyssey, right? So there's 4 girls that got together, and they're all supposed to. They had to come up with all sorts of interesting things from this book. It's basically a book report turned into a project, turned into a speech, turned into a poster, right? And I remember when I was a kid, because I was an idiot, in many ways I still am, but I remember that when I would get together with a group, the group would kind of get together. If I was doing the same thing, we'd all probably read together.
Right.
We'd work on our quadrant of the poster together.
Right. You're going to do this. You're going to do this part.
I would do this quarter. You do this quarter. We'd all be in the same room, wasting lots of time.
Wasting tons of time.
What I thought was really smart I don't know if it's Aubrey or a friend in the group. I don't know, but there's one girl they broke up the book into parts, and every person had to write their portion of the book in their own space.
Super smart.
They were all supposed to individually create the stuff for the poster board. Aubrey's really good with graphics and posters, so they all sent it to her, and she put that together. Got the
poster, yeah.
They had somebody else that was like the artist. They had somebody else that was like the speaker, but they basically delegated out all these different things, and they got a perfect score, and they probably didn't half the time as other groups. And it just goes back to knowing what you're good at, knowing who's around you that's good at something else.
Right, play to their strengths.
Play the strengths and delegate.
Yeah, because there's things that you could do in a heartbeat. Like
this. Just tell me what to talk about. I'll be fine.
Right.
I'll let you do your thing.
Here's another great example. Like when someone emails me or texts me, hey, can you give me the monthly payment and closing costs for this property? Do you have any idea how long it would take me to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, first I'd have to find my Encompass password.
First you'd have to go back and take remedial math.
True. Very true. First I'd have to learn how to operate the calculator, but
change the batteries. Last time it was
change the batteries. Then I'd have to reset my Encompass password, and then I'd be locked out. I have to contact the administrator. Anyways, but Josh is a human calculator. So like I can send that to him. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't feel like you get annoyed by those little texts because it takes 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And everybody has their answer. I still get to be the hero because I get to deliver the information back to them. And I think that's an important piece too. Nobody gives a shit where you get the answer.
Just have the answer.
Don't think that they do. They don't think they do. So yes, very, very, very big. I see this a lot in a lack of delegation on sports teams and coaching.
Oh, that's so true.
Like,
although football teams are better, they have like 8 coaches.
8 coaches, right? And that's, I believe, what it takes. Like, there is
offensive line, defensive line, quarterback coach,
kicker coach.
You got special teams coach.
Special teams coach. What else? I don't even know. But being able to, and I find this crazy when you have every dad in the stands that's dying to get on the field and help, right? And yet the coach is trying to run practices by himself.
With 25 dudes running in circles. And
it's like, hey, I bet you there's a dad up there that probably is a pretty good hitter. Like, why would you not say, hey, your job is to be you get these guys to hit and come up with your 10 or 15 batting drills that you're going to do every practice.
Yep.
You seem to be like a good fielder.
The best teams I've been on are that where there's like 8 baseball, like this for baseball with my son.
Yeah.
Like they say, hey, groups of 3 or 4 kids, the 3 kids over here, we're going to work in the outfield doing,
grounders,
pop-ups,
pop flies, like
infield grounders. This group is all pitching, this group's all hitting.
Yes.
And but all the kids are going station to station, and they're just freaking on it.
Yes.
Instead
and
look out and you see a line of 15 kids waiting for a pop fly, wondering why they're like not paying attention.
Waiting in line. It just totally inefficient. So yes, truly, the head coach should be, all he should be doing is watching his 8 people that have volunteered. There
you go, football head coach.
Send me your hey, if you're going to commit to do this, well, I need to see your drills that you're planning on doing with these, with my outfielders or with my pitchers. And the pitchers, if they're going to pitch, well, for the love of God, they need to be doing pitching drills a lot, and not to throw their arm, but strengthening their arm, something. So delegation
is so underutilized and it's so available. I love your example there of the teams that don't do it, and think about that in an HOA.
Yes.
The HOA can come together and knock a lot of stuff out. You can ask the neighbors. I guarantee that there's somebody bored as hell at home that's willing to help out, planting the damn garden in the front of the HOA.
Yes.
But moving on, that was number 5. Number 6, ACT. ACT is going to be a short one. The reason why ACT is going to be a short bullet point here is I say this over and over, and I can't express it enough.
I think
you can
Nike
teach
says it best.
You can't teach it. You can't teach desire.
You missed my joke.
I did miss the joke. What was the joke?
I said I think Nike says it best.
Oh yeah, just do it. That's pretty funny. This is not a paid-for advertisement, Nike. If you'd like to pay us, then we'll advertise for you.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, Reebok, we're open. But the action piece, the whole idea of you can teach everything but desire, I say a lot. But it also came up in the attitude, right? That's why people don't act. Is everyone admits that they're broken, that they could be a little better in some area, or that they have some goal that they're going to be a little better and they're going to fix it. I promise I'll clean my room tomorrow. I promise I'll clean my car tomorrow. I promise I'll go work out tomorrow. I promise I'll stop drinking tomorrow, God, if you just let me live through tonight. I promise. But if you don't hate it so much that you're willing to fix it, you're just not going to take the action. And so the taking the action is, of the 7, it's obviously the most important thing. Everything else is talking about it. Stop talking, just start doing.
Yeah.
Is where the action pops up.
And my guess is, and I know that when I struggle to take action on anything, it's because I am not breaking it down granularly enough. So I
the what to do and how to do it,
or my how to do it is so big. I have to make monumental changes or learn something that's going to take a long time, and that just seems like another huge mountain to climb, and it just kind of propels the delay, the start. So, super, super granular action is what you're looking for. So of course, I'm going to reference TikTok, but there was this TikTok video that I absolutely loved, and it was about chores around the house and how long each chore actually takes. If you were to time out, how long does it take to fold that load of laundry? 5 minutes. The count was 5 minutes. How long does it take to actually put away the dishes? How long does it take to actually vacuum the living room? Everything that you would need to do, but you don't, because it seems like a monumental task and it's going to take forever. 5 minutes to knock something out and move on with your day, that's pretty bite-sized. I can get on board with that. But I would think that the act comes from either not having it in small enough pieces, or not knowing where to start or how to do something, which then goes to asking or delegating or learning. And then the learning piece is also broken down into granular pieces. So don't ask somebody to teach you the entire thing. Teach me the one thing, the first thing.
Right. To put my shoes on. That's how you start to run.
Right. Just teach me one thing about how to do it. Intermittent fasting. Mm-hmm. Okay, how do I do it? Just don't eat
till noon.
Or just don't eat for 16 hours straight. Got it.
Don't eat after 5.
Then from there it was okay, so this 16 hours things, so what happens during feeding hours is what I call them. Then I can learn that. Then I can learn
The nutritional piece.
Right, and how the nutritional piece. But if I try to learn it all at once, chances are I'm going to be in that delayed phase for longer because, well, I can't start because I don't know what to do during my eating phase. So I'm just going to not start yet because I don't have all the information, right?
I wouldn't have. It's funny how you and I approach the same problem so differently because I have my own philosophy of why people don't take action. That really boils down to 4 reasons for me. Fear is obviously the biggest one that sticks out to me of like both ways, by the way, like fear of failure, but also fear of what's possible because I find that a lot of people don't feel like they deserve whatever outcome. Like there's a lot of self-sabotage that happens, believe it or not.
I do believe in self-sabotage.
And feel of failure, fear of failure, fear of letting people down, fear is a preventing.
Which is so interesting because those things just do not register for me.
People don't feel like they deserve it. Like it's. See,
I have no problem telling myself that. Well, that's my favorite close.
I love it.
You deserve it.
Yeah.
But I can also use it for negative too, so I have to be careful.
Yeah. So I think that's one reason why people don't act. I think another one is people are comfortable, like genuinely. And I don't know if this is a bad thing, but as far as why people don't change, like this is a leveling up kind of conversation this whole series is, right? But why would you change if you're super happy in your life, right?
If it ain't fixed,
right.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. And you know, they talk about unfortunately, the United States is a very unhappy, like depressed kind of country compared to there's some poverty-stricken places where people are the happiest, most blissful, Zen-like people in the world that have little to nothing.
Right.
And so, you know, if somebody's super, super comfortable, why would they change it? Like, that's a big piece. Unfortunately, the third one is so often that comfort is actually a way to mislead people for the real issue, which is complacency. People are just fucking lazy. Unfortunately, I see more and more of that. The complacency piece is just a really ugly way to recognize that you know what to do, you just don't do it because God darn it's gonna be hard, you know. And then the last one is the belief that you can't actually accomplish the objective. Like literally, like there's a reason why the glass ceiling thing is a real thing, right? If somebody doesn't believe that they can ever, you know, earn $40,000, then they're gonna make less than 40,000 for the rest of their life. Like if they don't believe in it, then why would I even apply for that job? Why would I even try that sales role? Why would I, if I don't believe in it, then why would I do it? So, or that I don't have the skill set, or, you know, you can talk yourself into a lot of crazy stuff. And all this to be said that it's in your head, which is where number 7 comes from, which is all mindset based. But let's wrap up number 6 by literally just saying, look, this is a pivot conversation, which means you can pivot tomorrow and you can pivot in a week and you can pivot. It's just a change of the angle of attack. It doesn't mean that what your dream up, what your best idea in brainstorming was a great idea. It doesn't mean that what you prioritized was correctly prioritized. It means that you can pivot again in a month if it doesn't work, right? But to act and to steer is better than to think and not do. And so number 7 is mindset. And so mindset is, you know, how do you keep this grind going, which is a healthy grind in my opinion, but a grind to be that ambition of a little bit better in all areas of your life, which if you're still listening to this podcast, you desire, or you wouldn't be listening, right? Because this podcast is at least this entire series this year is truly just based on elevating your game. And so how do you keep that grind up when you're busy, when you've got a family, when you are not seeing the results instantaneously, when you were invited out to do something that seems like it's more fun? How do you keep it up? And so I've got my answers, and I'd love for you to interject if something jumps out that I don't cover. But my first one is you got to control the controllables. Like, I care more about making sure that whatever my plan was that I can control. Like, if my job is to have 100 conversations a week, did I have those 100 conversations or not? If that's what if my plan stated that I've got to do 4 days of cardio and 4 days of lifting weights, did I execute or not? The guy can control the controllables. If I'm not at least doing that, I can't bitch about the plan.
And
just my execution of the plan.
That's how I've always felt about the greatness tracker. Like, you know, the greatness tracker is an activity form that is used for
activity tracking form.
For salespeople, typically for salespeople. And there are some, in my opinion, some uncontrollables on there, but there are also some very...
Which one's uncontrollable? I'm very curious.
Well, I'm going to get there. So focusing on what I can control would be making the calls, because that's me in charge of picking up the phone and calling, right? The next piece is, so example of like an uncontrollable is you had all of your appointments set to fill your week and then some to even account for fallout, or people rescheduling, and you still fall below that number. Sucks, because now your greatness tracker isn't full, but the activity was there. What I can control, like I can't control someone's kid getting sick.
So we could argue about this for hours.
Which is fine, yeah. I mean, I can't control if someone... I can certainly put things in place that increase my chances of not getting canceled on, for sure.
Some more than you're currently setting.
That's what I said. And
so that there's
you've already...
No, even if there's set so many that the fallout would still hit your goals, right?
Okay.
No, keep going though. I love this.
Well, I'm saying that it's, doing what you can control, because there are going to be things that happen during the week that you cannot control.
Sure.
Well, shit, what if you have to be the one that freaking cancels on someone because homeboy at school, diabetic kid, all of a sudden needs something? There's things
that's a good example
that do happen.
Life happens.
But that happens to the person you're going to meet as well, right?
I want to take an asterisk here because it's really important. This is why you better be on your damn game when things are going well.
Yes.
Like, to waste a day when you're healthy and your kid's healthy is a fucking travesty.
Yeah.
Because right when you get your best laid plans of, okay, I've sucked ass for 3 weeks, now I'm going to do my job,
and boom,
and then kid's sick.
Right.
Like, and that I'm saying that as an example for everyone to listen to. Because that is the average event of the average person in all areas of their life.
Yes.
I skipped church for 3 months. I'm finally gonna go back next week.
And then guess what happened?
The pastor leaves, and now I don't like the new pastor. Or whatever. Like, it's such a truth.
Yeah.
So controlling the controllables for me is super important, because no one can screw that up at you, and that's why I love good examples would be your morning routine. No one's there to screw it up at you. Like, you're either gonna get up on time, you're gonna work out, or read, or do a daily devotional, or meditate, or have a great coffee with your spouse, or you choose not to. You're choosing to fail. Right, so control the controllables. Number 2 would be to
I thought you were going to argue more about.
Oh, I could do it for hours. We could do a whole podcast about that, by the way, about what is a controllable versus what is not. Right.
I could too. And there's so many asterisks we could put under ways to turn non-controllables in quotations.
See, my answer for that basically is increase your input, and you'll get enough of your results.
True. As long as you are not letting other high priority items fall to the wayside and going over 80 hours a week.
And we're salespeople, and our number one priority item is those face-to-faces.
Yes, but then there's some people that have bosses that are, have like lots of priority items that need to
But the greatness trackers are our number one priority.
Right.
So then we should always have the full greatness tracker.
But wouldn't you rather have, all I'm saying is the things that I can control, my activity, and all the best intentions were there.
Intentions, schmentions.
My ass.
All right, so B, give no energy to the things you can't control. So I would say this. No. Control the controllables, which you disagree with. But they give.
To be clear,
we're gonna have to have a PIP. We're gonna have to have a personal improvement plan.
Clear. Whatever you just said, I do not agree with. I can't even remember, but it was something about me not agreeing.
Well, if you can't remember, you can't argue. So let's keep going.
I know, right? Damn it.
So give no energy to the things you can't control. So here's what I mean by that. One of my underwriters over here, that it's on the walk in, I got to hug her, and her brother died in the last 30 days, right? And a lot of people die, and it happens all the time. And a lot of kids get sick, and it happens all the time. And a lot of people get in car wrecks, and they get hurt, and it happens all the time. And all the way down to a lot of people get in fights with their spouses. It happens all the time. And whether you make it a big deal or a small deal, it's you making it a deal. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't diminish a death. It doesn't diminish whatever. We're recording this what is it? Just a few days after the Uvalde incident, which everyone knows about. And it's horrible, and there's no justification for it, right? Now, what I will say is that I was talking with Holly, one of my great friends and realtors out of Denver, this morning on the way in, and she just buried her mother as well. That shit, I had 2 of those conversations today. It blows me away. And I told her, look, here's the deal. It's going to be 3 years. Grief takes some time, so you don't have to solve the world and feel better and be normal today. It takes years. Mm-hmm. And the first year is going to be the year of all the firsts. The first birthday, the first anniversary, the first whatever, that they're not with you. The second year will be anger, and you're going to lash out at people that you love because they're the only targets that you're going to hit. That was my experience when my father-in-law died. Mm-hmm. And then the third year, you'll start to just kind of reminisce and kind of get back to normal a little bit, right? Yeah. That's been my experience with what I've seen. All that being said, the prescription is get up, pray, work out, go to work. Because the absence of getting up, praying, working out, and getting to work is filling your time with more thoughts, and the thoughts are negative. And it's less action, and it's self-perpetuating, and it makes it worse, not better. Yeah. So
it's almost like the bumper pads.
I would challenge anyone that wants to argue with me and say, well, you don't understand. It's like, okay, look, what bad comes from you praying every day? Whatever spirituality you are. Sure. What bad comes from that in a moment of mourning or sickness? What badness comes from you being healthier of body and mind? What bad comes from you being productive?
Right.
And filling your mind with productive thoughts? And the answer is you don't have anything to argue. There just isn't. Yeah. So staying stuck in giving energy to things you can't control is not the way out. It's we've got a good close friend of ours, I will say unnamed, who was self-destructive in her behavior for years before she finally got out of it. And I would tell you that if you talk to her today, she probably regrets what she did for 2 years. And today she's about the happiest person I've seen because what? She's working on herself. Yeah. Health, body and mind, and she's way more productive today than she's ever been. So don't give energy to things you can't control. Yesterday was a training exercise. If it was a business mistake, hopefully it's nothing as bad as an accident or a death or a sickness, right? But we make mistakes. We get bosses that suck. We make company changes that we look back and are like, shit, that was a mistake, right? Like there's a lot of things that happen, but if it's done, it's done. Don't give any more energy to it. Don't live in the past. Don't relive the glory years of the high school football team when you were 20 years ago.
Yeah. Right? And the sooner you can learn that, the better. So this is like for like the young people like in their 20s listening to this early, they're whatever age, it doesn't matter what age you are. Because this is a hard one. This is a hard one to truly let it go. Like it's really hard to do because there's a lot of venting and thinking and overthinking and then rethinking it and then venting to the next person. And here's what happens when there's too much venting. Be clear, I think venting is there's a healthy version of venting. Yep. As long as it can be that, and then you move on. Yep. And you say, okay, I'm not going to bitch anymore. Moving on. Like, I know I've said that to you a million times. I know I've put that in text messages. Okay, I'm done being a bitch. Like, I had to get that off my chest. Back to normal. As long as you can make that transition.
And as long as the person that's receiving that is capable of receiving it.
Yes.
And not ruining their day.
Not ruining their day, and ending the outing or the conversation on a good note is huge. I lost my train of thought. Dang it. But being able to, like I always say, I'm not giving any energy to that. Mm-hmm. There is no energy for negative crap. There's no energy like when someone gets a negative or a not so positive test result. Okay, well, before we know anything, guess what you're not getting? Yeah. Like, we're not going to give any energy to your bum pinky because that's just not something like, it's a perfectly healthy working pinky. And every time until it's not. And then we adjust to, okay, now all of our positive pivot. Now our positive energy goes towards
What's the best solution?
What's the best solution?
Yep.
And I truly believe our mind is the most powerful thing. I've told this story before, but I think it's worth telling again. Like, I was 23, 24 years old and went to my yearly exam. They found a lump in my breast. She sent me directly to the imaging center. Freaked me out so bad. Very bad communication also. Like, literally told me go from here to there, which is never good. This lump or mass or whatever had probably been there for 6 months. I had no idea. Guess what I had? I mean, I literally had so much pain once I knew it was there. Like, my mind convinced me that it was painful the moment I knew it was there. And so whatever you focus on is going to become reality. It really is. It's just like when you're driving. Once you start looking this way, well, that's where the car goes.
That's so true.
So just be really careful.
Don't give energy to things you can't control, guys.
Yeah, you just can't. You just can't.
Third step, and there's only 5 of them. Third step is focus on gratitude. It's so true. If you are in a place of gratitude, it's impossible to be negative, right? Like, it's the whole glass half full versus half empty. It is the focusing on what you have, not what you don't have. What's working for you, not what isn't working. Salespeople that are listening to this, we're the worst. I could close 40, home loans in a month, and the only one I remember and focus on is the one that didn't go well.
Right.
Right. The one problem, the one, that's the one that's the one I focus on. And it's so true. And it's not being grateful for the fact that I had the opportunity to help 40 people get a home.
Right.
And that shit, most people don't close 40 transactions in a year.
For real,
right?
and you kind of get...
I had a good month good year this month, right?
Right. And you get so conditioned to, or numb to the greatness. Like, don't let yourself get numb to the greatness that you're doing.
And this is in any area.
Any area.
Like the gratitude and the showing it to the perspective. And you guys all know somebody that lives in that space. And some of you guys, love. I think that I'm very attracted to people that are Zen-like and grateful and enthusiastic about people. And they're just the happiest people they're Smurfs, right?
Yeah.
They're the happiest people in the world. And so when you can use those things to your advantage, like, the most recent story that a lot of you guys have already heard is I hurt my back pretty bad back in November, and I was laying underneath my table making calls. And I remember that Linda pointed this out. Linda Rudd is a friend of mine. She happened to come to my office when I was laying on my back, and she said, "What the hell are you doing here?" Right? And I said, "Well, I'm not paralyzed." But
okay.
I think
this is where.
Well, this is the truth. Though.
This is where we pivot again.
Well, I think it just goes back to the mindset piece, right? Like, it wasn't that big of a deal for me. Like, people have way worse backs than I do, so why am I going to complain about it? And you can laugh about it. I go to everything.
There is a point where I always say, what advice would you give your children? Because here's what we don't want to happen. We need you. And if you F your back anymore because of your stubborn, I go to everything attitude, we're all fucked. So
it's going to be okay.
But there's a point where determination becomes
I get
detrimental.
I get it. Gratitude's just a practice, though.
Gratitude.
It's a gratitude journals. Think of, every time you have a negative thought, give right away 3 things you're grateful for instead. Yes. Call people that you're grateful for more often and tell them why you're grateful for them. You get that practice.
I mean, literally changing your phrasing from "I have to" "I get to."
Yeah, that's a big one.
Walker, and this is stuff that as parents, we have a huge responsibility to this, and I want everybody to hear this loud and clear. People are not born to think this way.
Yep.
And so therefore, if you have kids, it's our job to train them.
Yep.
So literally, we have lots of mindset conversations. My kids think I'm crazy all the time. But Walker had his first swim meet this past weekend, and he is 5 days 9, and they put him in an individual medley, which for those that don't know anything about swim, it's all 4 stroke, 25 meters, all 4 strokes. It's a really big race for anyone, but for a 5-day 9-year-old swimming in the 9-10 division, right? That's a really big deal. He did fantastic. And his whole thing was, first he freaked out and started crying, said, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. And I talked him off of that ledge. I'm not saying you have to do it, but you have to try. So we're going to go down to practice today and we're going to work on it. If you can do it, great. If you need more practice, we'll figure it out from there, but you at least have to try. And then he kept saying, I have to do the IM. I have to do an IM. I said, no, you get to, because guess what? The reason you're doing it is because you are one of 2 9 and 10-year-olds on the entire swim team that can.
Yep.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That's
you
a
get
perfect
to.
example of gratitude. And that's one of the things that will help you kind of carry the distance when you're having rough days, of why you go back and go do the work when you don't really have the want to at the moment.
Yep.
Don't overthink, There's nothing to talk about here at all. Just don't overthink anymore. And so it's easier said than done. If you're a list person that has 100 things on your lists, you should have stopped at 50. Right? Like if there's 20 things on your list, you should have stopped at 10.
Randy always goes, I'm like, there's so much on my list. He goes, make the list shorter.
It's exactly right. I'm just telling you, it's like steer, don't like think about driving, drive and then steer.
Drive and then steer.
Steer as you go. It turns out when you're sitting still and you try to turn the wheels, it's very difficult.
And
like
it's
for
bad
real.
on your tires.
I want you to, I want you to think about that as a
That's
visual.
A great
if
analogy.
you're sitting still trying to turn, it's fucking hard. But if you're in forward momentum and you steer, it just kind of does itself. It takes care of itself. So don't overthink, And then the last piece is, and this is a reminder, because pivoting is not always a good thing. So the last reminder is, don't make a permanent decision emotionally. So you might be frustrated with the result, and it might be because it's not a great idea. It's just hasn't taken enough time, right? So don't just stop doing something altogether because it's not working, and give up because you didn't get the result that you wanted fast enough. It just, don't make that permanent decision emotionally. And this is why this process of thinking through where you are, how the environment relates to you, thinking through a brainstorming session to make things better, prioritizing, delegating, taking action. That's why this is a process that has to be repeated again, because by doing the process, it takes you out of that emotional state.
It really does.
And it puts you in a place of, what's the best choice from here? Yeah. What's the best thing to do from here? And
when you're really dialed in, you can feel it. You can feel when you're in the wrong headspace. And so getting in the practice of saying, okay, not doing that, because everything I'm writing down is nothing but bitching and unproductive.
That's right.
Shut it down. It down. Breathe. Come back to it. You got to get yourself to a point, and that, we talk a lot about recovery rate. The more you practice that, the quicker it becomes.
That's right.
It really does.
So final favorite quote, and I think it relates right now, especially going back to the ambition. The ambition of this entire show for the next couple weeks and past couple weeks has been about being a little bit better, right? The favorite quote of the year for me is, are you willing to sprint when the distance is unknown? Right? So it's I don't get to pick when the bad day is going to happen to a family member or friend. So I'm going to make today fucking great because I'm going to control my controllables. I'm going to sprint because I know I want to be a little better. And it doesn't mean that where I'm at is bad, because I'm grateful for what I have and where I'm at. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be better. But I still want to sprint.
Yeah. And from you, super uber successful people, your problems you should be grateful for.
Yeah, well, this is all of us and everyone listening is a first world problem, right?
100%.
So that's all I have to say about the subject. Final thoughts?
Not me. I have 10 more bullet points.
Go for it.
Just kidding. No, I love it. I think that was great. So to summarize, this time we talked about priority and how to priority pair and actually get things done in the right order. The art of delegation, how to take action and keeping a healthy mindset.
To carry the day.
And then leading every day with gratitude. That literally takes you so much further than you would ever believe. So,
and we're grateful that you're listening.
We are all this time that you're listening.
So if you would like and subscribe, we'd certainly appreciate it.
And tell your friends, share it. There's a little share button. Boop. share it. And we do mortgages. So if you need a mortgage, if you need advice about real estate, if you're looking at investing,
anywhere in Texas.
Yeah, anywhere in Texas, and lots of places all over the United States as well. So if you need any real estate advice, mortgage advice, we are the people for you. So contact us. You can find us everywhere. So
Signing off. We'll see you next time on Sigman Sense, guys.
cheers.
Bye.